When we simply ask for clarification of their own view or for the reasons for their own view, a lot of times they don't have anything to give us.
You describe in your book as burden of proof. So explain that
Yeah.
one to us.
Well, the first step is to gather information in general and also to get specific information about a person's view. Because generally, what they're doing, if you're in a spiritual discussion, is they are making certain statements that are contrary to Christianity. Okay. And so the first question allows us to get more information so we're completely clear on what their view happens to be. For example, I mentioned a moment ago, a person who says, well, everything's relative. Well, that, of course, is meant to dismiss the Christian view, which claims to be objectively true. All right. So I asked the question to be clear on what they mean by that. But you see, they have just made a claim. All right. And there is a rule regarding making claims. It's called the burden of proof rule. And the rule is that the person who makes the claim is the one who bears the burden. So if the DA knocks on my door and says, you robbed the bank, what do I get to say to the DA? Prove it. Because the burden of proof is on the person who makes the claim, especially if it's controversial. So if somebody makes a controversial claim, it's their job to give reasons why anyone should take the claim seriously. It is not the Christian's job to disprove the other person's claim. Okay, now that's the key, because we are in the habit of hearing the challenge and then, oh, hey, here's why that's wrong. Okay, especially if we have some training. But then what we've done then is we've given them a free ride. Okay, and my rule is no more free rides. If you're going to make a claim, if you're going to throw the gauntlet down, so to speak, that's a challenge. Okay, well, now you can't just walk away and say, I win.
Right.
Now you got to put up or shut up. You got to show us what you got. Okay. You got to fight for your view, so to speak. And this is where the burden of proof comes in. And a little 60s alert here, but as in the immortal words of Ricky Ricardo, they got a lot of splaining to do themselves, right? So what we want to have them do is do some of the splaining, right? And so this is where the second Columbo question comes in. So far, we've got two steps of the game plan, gathering information with the question, what do you mean by that? And now the second step is reversing the burden of proof. And the question we use now is some form of the question, how did you come to that conclusion? Or what are your reasons for that? What would make you think that everything is relative? And then wait and see what they've got. Now, this is where in both questions, I want our listeners to be prepared for what I call a Simon and Garfunkel moment. Remember those two guys back in 1966 wrote that wonderful song, Sounds of Silence. And that's what we get. We ask, what do you mean by that? Or you ask, how'd you come to that conclusion? We get dead air. They don't know what to say because they've never thought about it. And this is an insight that it's good for your listeners to have, because people who oppose us look like giants in our eyes. You know, just like the book of Numbers, remember that? Oh, we were like grasshoppers to ourselves, you know. But when we start talking to them, we realize they are not usually as formidable as we thought. And when we simply ask for clarification of their own view or for the reasons for their own view, a lot of times they don't have anything to give us. And this can be a shocker to the Christian to hear the silence. It sometimes is a shocker to the other person as well. And this is why I tell people, if you can just use the first two questions, and that's all you worry about, don't worry about it going any further. Just asking people what they believe and why they believe it, you'll be amazed at how much progress you can actually make. And I know in my own life and in the lives of so many other people who I've talked to at events who have used these techniques, they've told me how much progress they've made even when they're not, making the case for their own side, just by asking these two questions. That's how powerful those questions are.
And this works on the high levels of debate as well. I just recently watched a debate between Tom Holland and I can't remember the name of the other guy. Grayling was his last name, but they're both world-renowned historians. They were on Justin Brierley's Big Conversation, and basically debating whether or not some of our Western ideas are really rooted in Judeo-Christian ideas. And so Tom Holland was taking the view that Christianity is basically what's informed Western civilization. And so Grayling was opposing him on that. And at one point in the debate, Grayling made this claim that Christians, and we've heard this claim before, that Christians burnt all the books in Alexandria, and there was this big, thing that happened. And
In the library there,
the
yeah.
library, yeah. And Tom Holland just said, "Where's your evidence?" And it was amazing because I think, if I remember correctly, for about 10 minutes, Grayling just kept trying to change the subject or saying something really broad, like, well, everybody knows that. And Holland's like, no, but what's the evidence that you have that demonstrates what you just said? And he would not let it go. He just kept bringing it back around. I want to know the evidence you made for that claim.
Sure.
And it was so powerful because really what you see is like, the emperor has no clothes. You think, this guy is very smart, obviously world renowned, but he's being asked for the evidence. How did you come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
And it ended up refuting really his own point because he really didn't have any solid or reputable evidence that had actually happened. And Tom Holland did a great job of sort of demonstrating that.